Hello? Here we go. This is April 2nd, 2017. Casa de Aloha. This is Siobhan Foley. It's been here for a day.
Just a day.
Just a day. Well, overnighter. A quick overnighter. Did you have a good time?
Yes.
All right, here we go, kids. So we just had some coffee and different topics came up. So it may be a cross-fertilization of a few things. But the striking thing is this idea of freedom and what constitutes freedom. Often what we think is freedom is often bondage. Because in order to really be free, you have to start having a very high-level relationship with honesty, which is why most people don't want freedom.
Scary.
Yeah. And why do you think I say that, Siobhan?
It's scary. I mean, I think it's really looking at yourself, and the world is scary. It's free fall. Freedom. It's free fall.
Yes. Freedom. This idea of freedom. Freedom from what? I think that's the thing I think that's where people get snagged. They don't know, they don't have a connection to it as something real. It's just sort of like a notion. So you have to start, actually, the more honest route is then to see, you have to want to see how you're in bondage in order to understand freedom, which is really, really why people get snagged here. Who likes the idea that they're in bondage, right? But the reality is a lot of our things in society support bondage.
Yeah.
And then you throw in sort of moral code, the righteous sort of attachments to all these sort of sacred cows. So when you start really walking this path, you know, how do I say, you want to be very cautious with the words. Right? Words have a lot of power, as you've heard me say a million times. So in other words, how to learn about freedom, you have to learn about bondage. And that's where it gets scary. Do you really want kids? Do you really want to be married? Are you willing to get honest about such things? Where are you deluding yourself that everything's okie dokie, but it's not?
Compromise.
Oh. Did y'all just feel that? Compromise? Ew. What are you compromising? It's bullshit. I have a whole chapter in the book on that. As soon as pride gets involved, we have to compromise. Well, is that true? Or is it just something that we think we believe? Because if it's compromised, that means that there's some tally being kept somewhere that'll get pulled out in the next argument. Right? What's the bedrock of compromise? Resentment. It's silly. So this all started, right, when you were asking me this idea of, these are my words, you can correct me, Sean. This whole idea of how to be in the world, right? How to walk in the world as it is, right? That is freedom. When you start actually receiving the world as it is versus how you want it to be, the freedom that provides you is priceless. And it comes from choosing to engage with life as it is. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Because you're not putting all these things on the world, so the world can be more of service to you, and then you can be of more service to the world. So I don't know, you've heard me say it different ways, but like freedom, you've got to bottom out on bondage to actually understand freedom. Which means, putting down your little ego. So this is the thing. It's like, you're walking the path in a very, you're on the path, this path, when things are getting lighter in your life. If they're getting heavier, there's one of two things that are probably going on. Either you're not really practicing, or you're attached to something that you can't see. Or you have a misunderstanding. It could be just a misunderstanding of the spiritual truth. So you should be lightening up and becoming more innocent and laughing more. That's a sure sign that you're walking towards freedom. Much more interesting to me, personally. And can be annoying to other people. Because you're not taking this shit seriously, Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Me.
Well, you're the face of everybody.
To me.
Which is the idea behind present time, which is what we were talking about this morning. Why people struggle with present time is because they're living in the past or the future, which is bondage. Like when you really understand that you have absolutely no control of the situation, then you realize what freedom is and you embrace it. Woo! I have no control, babies. None. Zip. Which is why the masters look the way they look, the way they could look outrageous at times. Because their freedom was more important than anything else. Which brings us to Rumi. So I Ching a poem that spoke to the very thing I'm talking about. But you can't live in the world in this way if you don't want freedom. You miss out on everything because you're so attached to whatever it is you're attached to. Your identities, the identities that get in the way of us living. Would you like to read that poem?
Sure. On a day when the wind is perfect. On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the world is full of beauty. Today is such a day. My eyes are like the sun that makes promises, the promise of life that it always keeps each morning. The living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere, both caress the earth with great tenderness. There is a breeze that can enter the soul. This love I know plays a drum. Arms move around me. Who can contain theirself before my beauty? Peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic. Gregarious, he makes our lips. On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the love starts. Today is such a day.
All right. Much more beautiful. Let's look at that little piece around peace is great, but ecstatic dance is better. Right.
Less narcissism.
Because that's great, because he's speaking to trying to have control of the environment, right? Control peace. Like, right, people are so obsessed with peace, but in order to have that, you have to then be controlling something, right? Manipulating something to maintain the peace. It's overrated. I just want peace, Rev. I'm like, well, that's too bad. There's so much more available. So wherever you're taking things seriously or where you're feeling outraged about something, really the next week, take a look at what it is you're giving up to do so. How are those things keeping you in bondage? And what are they keeping you in bondage to? Be very curious about that. What is it that you're clinging on to grim death with? This poem also speaks to grace. Like, you cannot be supported by grace if you're trying to control everything. Grace is the wind. Ramakrishna used to say, you just have to, like Master Rumi, you just have to unfurl your sail and grace will take you to the next thing. It's forever blowing. The world is a training ground. It has to be this way. That is just the truth. We have created it this way by our judgments and our separations, our blame. We perpetuate the very world you want to fix. So, sorry, babies, it comes right back to, headquarters right here. Like, if you really want to be of service to the world, shut up. Stop telling other people what they should or shouldn't do, as I'm telling you to shut up. You know what I mean. If everyone shut up for one day, you'd see this whole trip change. But more importantly, shut up and hear like all the crazy talk you're saying to yourself. For one day, see if you could do it. 1 hour. The world needs your love. It does not need your assessment. I don't know how simpler I could say it. Are you willing to do that for one day? For one day, walk and pull everything into your heart that you judge and open your heart to it and see what happens. I don't care how vile or disgusting it is. It's a really powerful practice. More will be revealed to you if you do so. The actual act of doing that in itself will give you the insights and downloads that I'm alluding to, but it's an experience, a direct experience. So if you're earnest about wanting to cultivate this path and to really understand how to work with your ego, this is a powerful way to do it. Because this is the way to freedom. Because it's the ego is what creates the bondage. And it's not a problem. It's a process of understanding and experience. We're trying to get to experience, babies. Remember in Portland, the airport a couple weeks ago I was talking about? People stop at knowing, right? They think they know, but they haven't gotten to understanding, let alone experience, let alone becoming, being, right? We're trying to get into the deeper grotto here. Past the friggin' words, man. We love the words, but serious. It's not spiritual practice. All right, let's just sit for a moment in silence together. I'll share my prayer that I say every morning with you. Salutations, God, and all your incarnations, forms, and powers. Salutations to all those beings who showered their help and grace on me and their patience. May it come back to them 2,000,000-fold. Salutations to all those beings I have hurt by thought, word, or deed, knowingly or unknowingly. May their energy return to them and my energy return to me. And may I grow in understanding and love. Salutations to all those beings suffering at any level of existence. Salutations to all teachers, sacred texts. Salutations to you again and again and again. Hari Om Tat Sat. You are that. Thank you, God. Okay, here we go. Wanna say it with me? Another day in paradise.
I can't do it. I can't.
All right, have a good week, you guys. Lots of love. Bye.